Well, hello, all my little bun-buns. Daisy over the night, and we're gonna have a thoughts video. Well, a lot of what I've been doing lately on these has been talking about Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Why? Because they entertain me. I actually love sitting down and watching one of the Marvel movies again as background noise, or just sitting down to really watch it again and get every little tidbit into my eyebuds. Now, I've seen them all many times, so none of them are going to be fresh, bang new to me at any point anymore. So yes, a lot of times I do put them in for background noise when I'm playing a video game or something. So that's definitely a plus. Uh, so before I get too far into anything, potential spoiler alerts uh, for any movie I'm talking about, just in case I say something that's going to ruin it for you. But today we're going to go very old school, or time-wise, line-wise anyway, and throw it on the floor. Apparently, Captain America did not want to be talked about. Okay. Let's try this again. So, Captain America, the first one. Instead of me referring to it as the first Avenger. Okay. I'll buy that for $1. So, for the record, I originally bought this one on DVD on a probably was a Black Friday sale. Then I loved it enough that I went and bought the Blu-ray copy. And I gave the DVD copy to, I think, my parents. Yeah. I thought I'd hate this one. I went with the lowest expectations because any previous iteration of Captain America actually ranked pretty close there to Superman as far as just being too much of a goody-goody two-shoes Boy Scout, always helps the old lady across the street kind of guy, and it just is boring as a concept. And I was expecting to be bored. Expectation averted. So, yeah. I really had a great time with this. Chris Evans was Captain America here. Probably says on here somewhere, and I am not good at reading in First Who Dies. I think it was Chris Evans. Yep, Chris Evans. There it is. Uh, he made a great Captain America, and I'm not gonna doubt on that man again, or that character. So, this same actor was another Marvel character quite a few years ago. He got to play Johnny Storm, or the Human Torch, back in two of the Fantastic Four movies that have existed recently. Fantastic Four and Fantastic Four and the Silver Surfer. They were okay. Maybe talk about those later. But, yeah. So we start off with pre-Captain America being Captain America, him just being um, Rogers, and he's a skinny little twig, which I have learned recently that they actually had to film both a body double that was a skinny guy to have his head effectively opposed onto, and Evans to then have the head be there, and somewhat digitally edited to make him look skinny up top as well. Interesting. So we start off with him trying his hardest to get into the military. I feel for this guy. He'd lost all his family. He had nothing going on. He wanted to go join the war and help take out the Nazis, save the world, save America, save freedom. Uh, but he kept getting rejected because he was small and asthmatic and not very well built at all for going doing military things, no matter how hard he tried. It's funny, for in that time of the world, it wasn't so much that you had the option to go join the army or the navy or whatever. You were conscripted and you were forced to join. He selected his choice. And after being rejected so many times, he finally got himself accepted thanks to the doctor that wanted to do experiments, specifically to turn him into a super soldier, which, good plan. So after making it through the trials and the selection and whatnot, he does make it up and gets the super serum injected into him in the kind of weird coffin box. And he's bombarded with Vita rays or something. I'm not sure science there, but that was kind of cool. And from that point on, we had Chris Evans just being all big and muscular. No more CG, adding on a little boy body effectively to him. Shenanigans happen. Eventually, he does get to be a hero and be fighting the war. Starts off with him being a Bond selling show across the country, and him being in movies and stuff to try and promote the war and try and promote people paying money to help support it. Which is kind of silly since he was the big muscular man. And instead of going out and fighting the war, they have him fake fighting the war. But he apparently did a good job of selling bonds in this fictional World War II era, which was kind of cool. But he eventually goes out, saves some of his friends, and a bunch of other people from a early Hydra camp run by the Red Skull, who was the first experiment with this super soldier serum. A little bit failed, seeing as how he turned into being bright red and his head really looking fairly skull-like. Kind of cool, but kind of creepy. So we have a super genius in charge of the Hydra rank of the Nazis, and so super smart, super strong, super red skull. That's fun. Uh, Lots of cool early Hydra tech based around energy they siphoned off of the Tesseract, which somehow they ended up with it. Doesn't explain where they got it initially, because they're the first point in Marvel Cinematic history where it exists. It travels through a few movies because it was here. Next point in time that existed was in Captain Marvel. Marvel had it up in her ship and was using it to do stuff. In that movie, it gets taken down to Earth again by Nick Fury and the Flugel, whatever the cat really was. And from there, I believe the next step is the first Avengers movie for when it's used again. But really, that block got around. It had a lot of fun. Yeah. So we were initially, the Nazis were using it to power weapons, which were cool weapons, including a big, freaky wing bomber that we're going to try and take out the United States with. Unfortunately, this is where Captain Rogers goes in the ice for 50 years. He does take out all the people in the plane, but the only way to take out the plane in the end was nosediving into the Arctic Ocean. Apparently, whatever happened to him from his chemical experiment made him able to be put into hibernation, I guess. So he survives being frozen in the Arctic for 50 years. Go Captain Rogers. And in the very end, I think it's not even until like the credit roll secret bit, he gets revived by in a shield facility, and he meets Nick Fury on the streets of New York City 50 years later than when he'd last seen it. Kind of cool. Good way to just practically cover the whole early parts, bridge him right into the Nowsville of Marvel Cinematic Universe, and get him right ready for the first Avengers movie. It was a really great setup, a great party, and yeah. Okay, now overall thoughts here. Uh, the beginning was a little slow when he was still, skinny boy. Could have been a little faster, but I feel like we needed all that backstory since this is the first of these movies. And having gone through everything so far that's come out, I feel it was necessary, but it did make it a little bit more of a drag to start. And the USO show things and that part did go by pretty quickly, fortunately, because that could have been a drag itself. But it was just enough that it gave you the idea what was happening to him, but not so much you were stuck sitting with him for like years and years of this or whatever, however long it was. But it was long enough he went like all across the country, made some movies and stuff in the character before he goes and does heroic stuff. Now, once he does heroic stuff, when he gets shipped over, he does a show for troops somewhere in Germany. And then sneaks off to rescue his best buddy, Bucky, and a bunch of other people. That's when the movie really gets good. Because now you have America fighting Hydra Nazis and helping actually win a war. He actually goes out and does a lot of raids. They make this look good. We actually get achievement effectively from Captain America as part of World War II. I like that. I like the fact that we employed him. The fact, I mean, in story form, he gets used. He gets put out there. He becomes part of the battle. It really helps forward the plot. It helps forward the character, and really helps cement in what he turns into in the end. And it gave the Red Skull a reason why he was stuck on a weird planet, guarding the Soul Stone, because that's what happened to him. Yeah, he touched the Tesseract, it teleported him off, and he ended up on whatever that planet was the Soul Stone was on in Infinity War. So that happened. But yeah, I love the tech. I loved the fact that we had a World War II era movie, but it didn't feel like a dull, old World War II movie. It felt up to date. It felt technology was covering, like we were still working with mostly weapons from the time, besides the Hydra weapons that were added in there. The tanks, most of the cars and things felt correct. Everything felt like it belonged in the time frame. It felt like the Nazi inventiveness could have had these invented weapons had they had certain items like the Tesseract. It had a lot of cool effect. You felt with all of Rogers' Howling Commandos. You felt a good bit when Bucky did kind of die. We know later he didn't die, but kind of died. It was a great setup. Uh, Not my favorite of the Avengers movies, and because it being an origin movie, it's one of the harder ones to rewatch too easily. But the origin story part is not as long as I would have expected, but a little longer than I probably would have liked. But it's hard to say it could have been shorter. I'll leave it at it's probably where it needed to be overall. But definitely recommend it. It was a fun ride. If you haven't watched it, obviously you can get on disc multiple ways. You can watch on Disney Plus and have a good time. It's good avenging. It's a good character. It's a lot more fun than I expected, and a good ride. I wouldn't necessarily say it's as good as Iron Man 1, but it's really, really hitting around that same feel. It's got a good vibe. So, yeah, I liked it. I liked it. Uh, so, have you seen this one? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Comment box below. Let me know. I'd love to hear what you felt. Uh, Good, bad, or otherwise, I'm not opposed to you having an opinion on a movie that I did or didn't like. I want to hear what you actually thought. But please don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the little dingly bell for the little dingly bell. Let you know when I post new videos. Who knows? Could be a Daisy video. She likes making videos, and oh, you like watching them, don't you? I know you do. No need to fib. We're all aware. But for now, this little bun's gonna hop off. So don't forget my Patreon link and my Coffee link are in the description box below. If you're so inclined to wish to help support the channel, I always appreciate either. Any money does help make this better for you and for everyone else. I try my best to make you good things to see, and that money definitely does help make it happen. Anyway, we'll go off and do other things, but for now, I want you to stay pretty, stay fluffy, stay satiny, stay bunny, and I will see you on a future video. Stay Merca. Merca.